2 years ago, I started teaching myself how to build AI voice agents. And since then, my team and I have built and shipped voice agents for more than 50 businesses around the world. I've also become a Voiceflow certified expert, a Retell AI certified partner, and an 11 Labs brand ambassador. And one of the voice agents that we built, the one that sounded very human and realistic sounding, closes a £20,000 deal with one of our clients. So honestly, learning this one skill has completely changed my business. So in this full guide, I'm going to be teaching you everything. And I mean everything that I've learned over the last 2 years about building AI voice agents. And more importantly, how to get paid to build them, even if you don't know how to code. My hope is that by the end of this video, you will build one of these for basically any businesses that have a phone and charge real money for it. And as you can probably tell by how long this entire video is, I'm not going to be holding anything back. So to make it easier to get through, I've split the whole thing into 3 chapters. First, we'll build your foundations. What a voice agent actually is, how it works under the hood, and why businesses need AI voice agents nowadays. All the concepts you need before you even touch the build. And this with no technical background required, and I'll be explaining every single piece in plain English. Second is the fun part where we actually build stuff. We'll be building 4 complete AI voice agents, end-to-end, over my shoulder. And these aren't just random builds. These are proven voice agent use cases that every single business on the planet actually needs right now. And third, I'm going to give you my proven blueprint for making money with this skill. Exactly how I'm going to price these builds and how I get the clients. The same playbook I've used to build a real agency over the last 2 years. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Now, if you're new to this channel and don't know who I am, let me just quickly show you why I'm qualified to teach you this. My name is Edwin. A couple of years ago, I graduated from Oxford from Maths and Deep Learning. And since then, I've also worked as a data analyst in the Big Four. And just 2 years ago, I started to start teaching myself how to build AI agents, building in public. As you can probably check out one of my many videos in my YouTube channel. That turned into my AI agency, Legacy AI, where my team and I have been building AI voice agents, chatbots, and automation workflows for businesses all over the world, including a $250 million restaurant chain with over 200 locations to one of the largest solar company in the United States. And we've literally built anything from a simple agent that just answers the phone and all the way up to full SaaS platform systems where businesses are deploying and using every day. So the point is, everything that I'm about to teach you today is exactly what worked for me and my agency and with real clients of mine paying real money. So that's enough about me, so let's get stuck in. Okay, before we touch a single tool, I need you to understand why this is the thing to actually learn right now. Because if you get this part, everything after this will make sense. So let's go. There's the simplest way that I can put it. Right now, there's a thing that almost every business on earth desperately needs, and only a tiny amount of people know how to build it well. And the window is where that opportunity is happening right now. That's it, that's the whole opportunity. Demand is everywhere, but the supply is almost nowhere, or at least good supplies, and you're early. So let me actually show you the numbers because they're kind of absurd in a sense. In 2024, the voice AI market was about $2.4 billion. And by 2033, the projections put it between $35 to $47 billion. So this thing is going to be somewhere about 15 to 20 times bigger in the next decade. And that growth rate, that 35 to 39% number, that's called CAGR. Don't let the acronym scare you. It just means how fast this grows every single year on average. And roughly 37% a year is insane. Just for comparison, a normal healthcare industry grows like 3 to 4% a year. So this is growing 10 times faster than that every single year. And here's why it's growing so fast. Because voice AI is riding on top of even 2 of the bigger waves at the same time. One is conversational AI, that's just computers being able to talk and understand language, which exploded after ChatGPT. And the other one is what people are calling agentic AI. Stick with me because this may sound very abstract, but what it does is just a normal AI that not only talks back to you, but actually does things for you. It doesn't just answer questions about booking an appointment. An agentic AI will actually go ahead and book the appointment itself. So that's the difference. And the whole reason this is a business and not just a cool demo anymore. We're going to be building exactly that, an AI that does things 4 times in this video. And right now, only 17% of organizations actually deployed an AI agent. 17. But over 60% saying they're planning to do this within the next 2 years. So let's sit there for a second. The demand is basically already decided. 60+% of businesses have looked at this and gone, yep, we're gonna need that, but we haven't done it yet. And only 1 in 6 have actually pulled the trigger. So the work isn't like going to convince people they actually need it. And the majority of the work is that giant line of people who already know what they want. And there's almost nobody standing there ready or good enough to actually build a mature build for them. So the gap between everybody who wants it and almost nobody can do it, that gap is the opportunity. And the gap is where you come in. And I want to be really clear about who needs this, because beginners always assume it's big tech companies or big enterprises, but it's not. Think about our clients throughout the video, which we're going to be using a fictional company called Apex Solar and Roofing, which is modeled a very close client of ours. Just a normal exterior home services company, and after the storm, the phone rings off. And half of those calls hit voicemail because there's only one person at the desk. Every one of those missed calls is like a $5, $10, $20,000 job, walking straight to the competitor down the road. And the exact same thing is true for plumbers, dentists, law firms, salons, real estate offices, every business that lives and dies by the phone, which is basically almost all of them. And businesses are paying real money for this. Building one of these agents can go anywhere from just a couple of $1,000s to 10, 15,000 and beyond. Plus a monthly retainer fee on top to keep it running. But unfortunately, that window does not stay open forever. In a couple of years, the people who got in early, the people building right now, they are the ones with the case studies, of the proof, of the client, and the reputation. And early always wins the game. So that early is today. And maybe you're sitting there thinking, okay, if this is so obvious, why now? Why is everyone suddenly able to do this in 2026 when a voice robot 2 years ago was clearly a robot? Right? It's a great question because 4 separate things had to happen first. And the thing is, none of these mattered on their own, and you kind of need all 4 to kind of cross over the line, as they did basically in 2025. The first one is model quality. What I mean by model is the model of the large language model, GPT, Claude, etc. It's the AI brain that actually does the thinking. When your voice agent hears a call up, something has to actually understand what is said and then decide what to say back. That's the model. Think of it as the brain in the middle of an agent. Before, the brain was kind of dumb. It can only handle the rough script that you gave it. And the second the human says something even a little bit off script, it will fall apart and say, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, for the 5th time. Now, right now, the brain is genuinely smart. It can hold off a real back and forth, handle a curveball or edge cases, and remember what you said 30 seconds ago, and stay on the job it was given. For Apex Solar and Roofing, which is our fictional company that we'll be working with throughout this entire course, that's the difference between a bot that can only say, we're closed, call back Monday, and an agent that can actually have the real conversations to a stressed homeowner wanting to have at 10 p.m. after a storm. The second one is latency. Latency just means a delay. The pause between you finishing your sentence and the agent starting to speak. That time gap is what we call latency. Most people have never really thought about that. In human conversation, the gap between one person stopping and the other starting is about 0.2 of a second. Very tiny, and probably you don't even notice it. But the second a gap gets long, like a full second, 2 seconds, or 3 seconds, your brain basically goes, ugh, something's off here. This isn't a person. All the voice bot has 1, 2, sometimes 3 seconds delay. You will ask a question and it will just sit in dead air. Very robotic and very annoying. And right now for the round trip, you finish talking, the agent actually hears you, think, and starts speaking in less than a second. Sub 500 milliseconds voice agent is real and it's being shipped today. That's inside the window your brain reads as natural. Now the third factor, this is the one that almost nobody talks about and secretly actually the biggest one, is called turn taking. Stick with me here for 10 seconds here because this is technically the most technical of the 4 and it's actually worth getting into. Think about how 2 people actually talk to each other. You don't politely just wait for a beep, right? You jump in, you interrupt in the conversation, you say, yeah, that makes sense, right? In a normal conversation, hopefully with your friends, while the other person is still talking. You cut them off mid-sentence very often when you already know the answer. That kind of messy overlap, that is part of a natural conversation. Older bots couldn't do that at all. You have to wait for them to completely finish their little speech before you could say anything. And if you interrupted, they just plowed on, talking right over you, deaf to the fact that you were trying to speak. The jargon for fixing that is something called full duplex. So full duplex just means it can listen and talk at the same time, like a real person, instead of strictly taking turns like a walkie-talkie. There's also something called barge in, which is a term that means when you start talking, it will shut up and listens to you right away mid-sentence. And these voice agents are shipping again for real in the real world. And it's one of the things that takes an agent from clearly a machine trying to talk to me to, oh, I may actually be talking to someone. The fourth one, and this is the one that actually turns a cool tech demo into a real business product, cost. And here's the money part, so pay attention because this is exactly what you say to clients in order to close them. A human answering the phone costs you somewhere around $7 to $12 per call. Once you count its wages, the desk, management, breaks, sick days, holidays, the fact that they go home at 5 p.m. An AI voice agent handling that same call costs you somewhere around 20 to 50 cents per call. And that's roughly 20 times cheaper. And it never sleeps, never quits, never needs training, and answers on the first ring at 3 in the morning. And here's where the money actually lands for you, the person who's actually building all of this. For an agent like the receptionist we built first in this course, you would charge a client somewhere between $500 to $2,000 to build it, plus a monthly retainer to a few $100s to run and maintain it. We'll go on to the exact pricing later. The point right now is you're actually selling the clients that cost the clients cents per call and saving them a salary. That's the easiest maths in sales. Now, I keep saying this voice agent thing keeps hearing you and speaks back in under a second. So how does it actually work under the hood without all the technical jargon? That's exactly what we'll be breaking down next. Let's go into the next chapter. Okay, so you know the market for voice AI, you know why this is the perfect time for it, and the 4 factors that pushes voice AI. Now I'm going to show you exactly what's happening inside a real AI voice agent when it picks up the phone. By the end of the next 5 to 10 minutes, you understand a voice agent better than 95% of the people on the planet. And one of the good news is that you kind of already know intuitively how this works. You've been doing it your whole life every time you talk to another human being. So forget the tech for a second. Let me just walk you through a normal phone call. Then I'll show you the AI doing the exact same thing. In a normal phone call with your friend, when someone calls you, 3 things keep happening in your head. 1, your ear hears the word that they said. 2, your brain processes and thinks about what they mean and what to say back. And 3rd, your mouth then speaks the answer. Ear, brain, the mouth, which translates to hear, think, speak. The whole loop happens in under a second and you never really consciously notice it. A voice agent is exactly the same thing with those 3 steps. It uses 3 pieces of software instead of your ears, your brain, and your mouth. That's it. That's the whole thing. So let me name them. The ears of a voice agent are something called speech to text, or STT. It's the part that listens to the caller talking and turns those spoken words audio into written text so a computer can actually read them. You've used this probably some point already. It's the same tech with the little microphone button on your phone keyboard or your laptop keyboard. You talk, the words appear, like Siri. That's speech to text. So when someone calls Apex Solar and Roofing after a storm and say, yeah, my roof's leaking, and someone comes out, the speech to text is the part that hears that and writes it down as text in real time when the user is talking. Next, the brain. That will be the LLM or large language model, like ChatGPT. Just think of it, as I said before, the brain of the entire AI agent. Its purpose is to read the text from the ears and figure out what the caller actually wants, and it decides what to say back. And this is actually the smart part, right? The brain is where you put in the agent's instructions. Also, we call it the prompt. You tell it, for example, as a system prompt, you are a sales assistant at Apex Solar and Roofing. You're friendly and your job is to find out if it's a roof or solar job, get the address and book the visit. The brain reads the caller's word and your instructions, aka the prompt, together, and it tries to generate the perfect reply every single time. And here's a note about building these agents. The brain is actually what 90% of your actual work as a builder happens. If you need to write those instructions, aka those prompts well, connect it to the correct tools so it can perform certain actions, which we'll cover in a bit, that's the skill that you're actually charging people for. And the last part, the mouth, which is text-to-speech or TTS for short. This is the opposite of the ears. Brain wrote out a reply as text, and the TTS turns that text back into spoken human voice the caller hears down the phone. This is the part that makes people say, hey, is this a robot or is this a human? The good text-to-speech engines nowadays, like 11 Labs version 3, and this is version 3, they actually sound realistic now. They breathe, they pause, they sound warm with emotions. They even can sound a little bit uncertain in the right spots. That's why nobody could tell on the call what you heard at the very start. The mouth is what sells the realism of the entire agent. Now, watch what happens when you put all 3 together. The caller talks, the ears turn this into text, the brain reads it and writes a reply, and the mouth speaks it. Then the caller answers, and the whole loop runs again, round and round for the whole conversation. This 3-step loop actually has a name. It's called the cascade pipeline, or a cascaded voice pipeline. Cascade just means it flows down in order, one step onto the next, like water down the steps. Ears, then brain, then mouth. That's the cascade model. And that is what almost every production AI voice agent on Earth runs right now, including everyone we're going to be building in this video. Now, one number matters more than any others in this whole game. And that's the reason voice agents only got good recently, as I explained previously, is the speed and the latency. In a real conversation, when you finish your sentence, the other person replies in almost half a second to a second. Any longer and it will feel a little bit weird. You've felt this on a laggy phone call when everyone talks over each other and it's painful. So our agent has to do all 3 steps: hear, think, and speak in under about a second, or the caller feels like they're talking to a machine. The total time budget, again, is called the latency. And latency, again, just to recap, is just the delay between the caller finishing and the agent answering. Lower is better. And in 2026, we can now run the entire cascade pipeline in well under a second. And this is the part where I love telling beginners. You don't have to build any of these 3 pieces. The ear, the brain, and the mouth, the speed tuning, the platform that we use already wired all of it together for you. Your job is the instructions in the brain, the personality, and building out tools so that the agent can connect to it that does things like booking appointments. So that's why as a total beginner, you can definitely learn the skill you need to ship a production agent. Now, just a quick detour here. Just stick with me because this one part I can already see the comments saying, well, what about this one coming? So I want you to hear about it. There's a newer second way to build an AI voice agent. So instead of 3 separate pieces, ears, then brain, and mouth, there's now a single model that can do all 3 at once. It hears, thinks, and speaks inside the brain. There's no handoff, and these are called speech-to-speech models. And this one you will hear most is probably OpenAI GPT Real-Time or Gemini Live. So which is better? And that's a great question. And the honest answer is there's no one best solution. It really depends on the use case. And that is exactly why I'm teaching you both. So speech-to-speech actually wins on 2 things. 1, it's even faster because there's no handoff between the pieces. And 2, it can sound more natural. It can laugh, it can catch your tone, and because the same brain that's thinking is also doing the talking, right? But this is very important. The cascade pipeline wins on 2 things that are a bigger deal in general for real businesses. 1, control. With 3 separate pieces, you get to pick the best brain, the best voice, and you can steer exactly what the agent does and when it does things like checking a calendar or saving a lead. That precise control that you have is what wins over the speech-to-speech models nowadays. 2 is cost and maturity. The cascade pipeline is cheaper to run at scale and has been battle tested on millions of real calls. So in my opinion, I think speech-to-speech is incredible and it's definitely the future. But for now, as of 2026, for an agent that has to reliably do stuff like booking appointments, update a CRM, and behave the same way on a core 10,000 to as it did on core number 1, we will build on the cascade pipeline. The control and the reliability are definitely worth it. So far, your voice agent can hear, think, and talk. That's the loop from the last chapter. Right now, it can only do one thing, which is having a conversation. That's a chatbot with a voice. It can't book anything, it can't look anything up, it can't text the lead a confirmation. It just talks. So in this chapter, I'm going to give you your agent hands. By the end of this next 5 minutes, you will understand 4 things that turn a talking machine into one that actually does the work for you. And you will know exactly what each one is doing inside every build we'll do next. APIs, tools, webhooks, and knowledge bases. First one, API. I'm sure you've heard this word 1,000 times already. So API actually stands for Application Programming Interface. What it is, think of it like an API as a menu. Think about going to a restaurant, you don't walk to the kitchen to order, right? You don't grab the pans and you don't talk to the chef. You get a menu. The menu lists exactly what you're allowed to order and how to ask for it. You point at item number 4, let's say lasagna, and the kitchen does this thing in the back, and then comes your food. So an API is the manual that one piece of software hands to another. For Apex Solar's calendar software, their CRM, their texting tool, each one publishes a manual of things you're allowed to ask it to do. For example, check what times are open, save this new lead, send this text to a customer. Your voice agent doesn't need to know how the kitchen works. It just reads the menu and places an order. That's it, and that's an API. It's a manual of things one app would do for another app when asked the right way. And this is actually what an API actually looks like in code, and this is what we call an API schema, aka the menu of how one app communicates with another app. Number 2 is a tool. Sometimes you will see this as function calling, same thing. So we've said the API is the menu, and a tool is the agent's hand reaching out and actually ordering off it, right? Here's the difference. Without tools, your agent can only talk about things. With tools, your agent can actually do things. So imagine we are, again, building this with our fictional company, Apex Solar and Roofing. A caller can say, what times do you open Tuesday for roof inspection? An agent with no hands would just say, let me have someone call you back, which is useless. An agent with hands can actually do this instead. It quietly calls the tool checks Apex actual calendar throughout that menu, the API. It gets to real open slots, and the agent says, I've got 9 AM or 2 PM Thursday, which works better. That's a tool. Check availability. You, the builder, decides which hands your agent gets. For Apex, we'll give it a handful, one to check the calendar, another to book an appointment, one to actually save the lead in the CRM, and one to send a confirmation text. Number 3 is the webhook. This is the one that sounds the most technical, so just stick with me here, because an analogy makes it quite simple and you use it in every single outbound build that we'll be doing. Think of webhook as a doorbell. Here's what I mean. Most of the time, when software wants to know if something happened, he has to keep asking, are there anything new? Are there anything new? Are there anything new, right? Imagine standing at someone's front door, knocking every 10 seconds, asking if a package has arrived. It's exhausting, it's annoying, and it's a waste of resources. A webhook basically flips it around. Instead of you constantly checking, you install a doorbell. Now you go do your live, you maybe go for a shower, you cook some food, and the second a package shows up, the doorbell rings you. You only show up when there's actually something to deal with. Now think about our fictional company, Apex Solar and Roofing. Apex runs Facebook lead ads that they're on Angie, right? So somebody fills out, gets a free solar quote from online. The instant that actually happens, a webhook, the doorbell, basically fires. And the doorbell rings, tells our system, hey, a hot new lead just comes in. Let's go. So our agent then picks up the phone and calls that person back in under 60 seconds while they're still sitting on the laptop, still warm. And that speed is everything. A lead called back in the first minute converts way higher than one that calls an hour later. We covered those numbers earlier. The webhook is the doorbell that makes the instant callback possible. No human watching a dashboard, the lead rings the bell and the agent answers. So basically, just to recap, an API is the menu, tool is the hand, and a webhook is the doorbell that says, go now. And the last one is the easiest one, is called the knowledge base, which I like to call the cheat sheet. Your agent doesn't magically just know anything about our company, let's say Apex Solar and Roofing. It doesn't know their service area, their financing options, whether they do flat roofs, or what to say when the caller asks, do you cover hail damage? So we actually handed a cheat sheet you can read it off from. A knowledge base is just a document or a stack of documents that you load in. Apex's services, their pricing ranges, their common FAQs, the coverage zone. When the caller asks something, the agent actually quietly looks at the cheat sheet, pulls the correct answer, and says out loud in his own words, which sounds totally natural. Okay, quick thing before we pick our tools and start building. I just told you how an voice agent works, how to give it hands with tools and webhooks, same loop, same plumbing basically every single time. And here's the part most people miss so stick with me here, because this one idea is the whole reason the skill is worth learning. The same core build, it works on pretty much every industry on earth. You're not learning how to build a roofing agent, you're learning a skill that retargets anywhere. So let me prove it to you. The first use case is healthcare. Patients call to book, reschedule, ask if their insurance is covered, and the US health system loses around $150 billion a year due to missed appointments. The voice agent calls every patient the day before, confirms with the patient, reschedules. And next we have finance. Bank and lenders, balance questions, payment reminders, fraud alerts, or the routine call that clocks a call center at 2 AM. The agent handles the simple stuff and passes the human the hard stuff. The third one is e-commerce. So many common questions. Where's my order? I need the refund. Did this ship? That's 80% of support calls, and the agent clears them in seconds, 24/7. The fourth industry is hospitality. I'm thinking restaurants and hotels. And here's a real number for you. Voice agents taking direct bookings have lifted direct bookings by 35%. Because the phone gets answered every time instead of going to voicemail during the dinner rush. Fifth one is real estate, and I personally have worked with quite a lot of clients from that industry. This one's wild because respond to a new lead within 5 minutes, and you're about 100 times more likely to actually reach them. 100 times. No humans actually answers every lead in 5 minutes. A machine does it in 5 seconds. Sixth one is legal and law firms. One missed call to a law firm can be a client worth $5,000 or more in lifetime value. So walking straight to the next firm in the search results, the agent actually catches it. And the last one I have is logistics, right? Freight, delivery, dispatch, where's my shipment, where's my window, the driver's running late, around the clock. So I've just given you 7 industry examples, which runs the same loop. similar tools, and similar webhooks. So the patterns is always the same. The phone is basically the front door of so many businesses, and most businesses are leaving that door unanswered. A third, of course, are missed. And 85% of people who hit voicemail never call back. Every one of them is basically money just walking to a competitor. You learn the skills to actually build it once, and you can sell it to a dentist, a roofer, a law firm, a hotel, a shipping company. The build, the core logic barely changes. You just swap the knowledge base, the tools, the use case, etc. And that's the whole game. Horizontal scale, and you can carry it anywhere. So you may ask, Edwin, if it works everywhere, why didn't I just demo it into a random business and call it a day? Because here's the thing, if I jump industries every 5 minutes in this video, you will learn nothing. You will see 7 half builds and just walk away with confused mind. So what I'm going to teach you is 4 use cases that every business with a phone is paying for right now. And we're going to be building all 4 for one business, Apex Solar and Roof, start to finish, so you can see the whole thing connected to one company and one system and how it applies to one business instead of 4 disconnected demos. And again, meet our client for the rest of the video, Apex Solar and Roofing, which is very similar to one of our close home services clients that we're shipping right now. And here's what's coming so you can see all 4 builds. Build 1 will be building an AI receptionist to answer every single call, even at 2 AM after a storm. So Apex actually never hits voicemail again. That's the easiest first sale. You'll charge a client somewhere between $500 to $2,000 to build, plus a monthly retainer to run and maintain it. Build 2 is speed to lead. The second someone fills out a free quote form, the agent calls them back in under 60 seconds while they're still hot. For something like this, you can charge comfortably $2,000 plus monthly retainer. The third build is lead reactivation. We point the agent at Apex pile of old dead quote requests and older leads and turn them into booked jobs. Pretty much just founding money from a list that they already paid for, which is a no-brainer for them. And the fourth build, which is the last one, is the booking, reminders, and killing no-shows, with the agent reading and writing a live calendar in real time. That's the hardest one and also the highest retainer. 4 builds and 1 continuous system. And every one of them is independently sellable, meaning you can close the deal after build 1 and you do not have to wait to the end. So without further ado, let's go straight into the builds. And welcome to the build part. I'm so excited to be building this 4 builds with you guys. And by the way, I will be using a board essentially, and you will have access to all of these boards which will explain every single conceptual thing I'll be covering, each of the 4 builds, and the link is in the description, so you can just grab it and go through it together with me if you want to. So let's focus on our first build, which will be an AI receptionist. So the purposes of this build, again, for our fictional company, Apex Solar and Roofing, which would be a solar company. And the purpose of this build essentially is a 24/7 AI voice agent that answers every inbound call to Apex. So no call ever hits the voicemail. Like for example, if someone is trying to call it after they have an 11 PM storm, for example, to fix the roof, there will always be someone to answer the call for them. And just for references, around 62% of businesses calls actually go unanswered, and 85% of them never call back, right? And for the average SMB, that's around 126K years a lot just from the missed calls, right? So this is really solving the missed calls problem. And for a human, it costs around $6 per call, whereas for AI voice agent, it costs around $0.3 to $0.5 per call. And there's no wages or like they couldn't call in sick, etc. Realistically speaking, you can actually sell each of these builds for around $500 to, they say 5K, but I would say realistically speaking, you could be selling anywhere from $500 to $2,000 per build, plus something around like $300 to $1,500 per month for maintenance, depending on the build. Obviously, I have to do something to warn you is that things like an AI reception is starting to get more and more commoditized. For example, the very simple AI reception that just talks on the phone, very rarely, it's very hard to stand out nowadays because there's a lot of SaaS and tools and platforms that does that for like much cheaper. They have productized these kind of builds already. So I wouldn't recommend selling this as in the long term. But it's something that can get your foot in the door in the first place. And there's a lot of businesses that really need this and have no idea about all the different tools or SaaS that exist. And you're able to kind of give it more control, like because you're custom making this for their business. So obviously you'll be more attentive, like you will know their business inside out before you build these things. So as a beginner in the voice AI space, I would definitely say this is one of the things that you can enter into the market, but it's not something that you should be staying on forever. As we go on to the more complicated builds, the more custom builds that will provide more value to the business. But this is kind of like the foot in the door. And the pain point to lead with this build is essentially the lost money, the missed calls leading to missed revenue, not AI. It's very important that, so many business owners feel really burnt out by people talking nonsense about AI to them. You don't want to be one of them, right? Really lead with the value and show them what you can do, which is like a demo, which is, for example, what you're going to be building today, right? So the usage is that this caller would dial in any hour, and our AI voice agent, let's give it a name called Maya, will pick up the phone, be really warm and empathetic, and be the first person, quotation mark, on the ring to the humans. So she can answer questions from the knowledge base and essentially reassures them. And if it's something urgent, then it can go ahead and transfer the call live to a human being if it's in the opening hours, right? It will also capture the leads with their name, information, phone numbers, email, why they're contacting, etc., and either text the owner, or you can save it into a CRM that or database that the business owner is using already. So just to give you an idea how we're going to be structuring this build is we have the caller, which is an inbound call, the Maya, which is actually a voice agent built on Retell, which is a platform for building AI voice agents. It will have multiple tools. Remember, a tool is just like a hand to a voice agent. One of the tools is a knowledge base where it can kind of reference from a cheat sheet and answer questions or policies about the company. One of the tools is called Save Lead, meaning that we'll be using this tool in order to push the information we capture from the customer, like their name, reason for calling, email, phone number, etc., push save it in the CRM, or we can also text an SMS to the owner. If it's something urgent, we transfer the call to a human. That's pretty much the entire build. Pretty simple, right, to get started. And for now, there are 4 or 3 tools if you want. The first tool is the knowledge base, right? And the second tool is the save lead. The third tool is the transfer call. Now, the post-call analysis is not necessary, but it's done automatically in Retell anyway, so we can kind of classify this as the 4th tool, right? So now that we have the fundamental understanding of the first build, let's go ahead and actually build this. Now, this is Retell, which is the platform that we'll be using to actually build this kind of agents. And in here, this is kind of the Retell dashboard. So the first thing you want to do is go and create an agent, click on voice agent. Now there are 2 types of agents in Retell, single prompt and conversational flow. For an AI receptionist, I always recommend a simple prompt because it's so much easier to start with. Whereas in some of the later builds that we'll be doing, then we can start looking, because it will get more complex, only then do we actually recommend transitioning to a conversational flow. But for now, let's start with single prompt and click on create agent. And from here, this is kind of the dashboard from here. Now, I know some of you might already know that Retell recently has like a conductor feature, which is like a built-in AI assistant in order to build out these AI voice agents on autopilot. I'll be showing you how to use this, but it's very important that you kind of learn the reasoning behind it, because a lot of the time, first of all, the AI assistant conductor might not be perfect and you will get things wrong, like the configuration of the tools, the logic, etc., especially when we move into conversational flow. It might not be the most optimal way of building it. So it's very important that you know and actually understand what is happening underneath the hook. Otherwise, you will produce a big mess for your client that you have no idea how to debug or no idea how to configure, right? So it's very important you understand the basic first, you understand how to do this manually, and then you can accelerate your workflow by using the conductor feature. But for now, let's just start with the system prompt, which is the instructions for the voice agent. Okay. So from here, I've added in the kind of first instruction. So it said, you and Maya, the receptionist for the business name, which in this case, we'll be replacing with Apex Solar and Roofing. So that didn't really work. Apex Solar and a solar and roofing company. You answer the phone, so a real person always pick up. So the way I like to always organize the prompt is through something called Markdown. This hashtag thing you see here. So this is basically, think of it like a section label. This is basically labeling the prompts, dividing the prompts into different sections. So we organize the prompt more kind of categorically rather than just one big text, right? So by using this kind of formatting, it's proven that it will actually improve the performance of the AI agent. So I would say the first thing is usually identity. So who it is, who is working for, right? Give some backstory to the agent. So I always say like Maya is the kind of front desk person who has answered this phone 1,000 times and still sounds glad to do it. Warm, steady, never rushed. After talking to her, a caller feels taken care of and confident that someone will actually show up. By the way, the template for these four builds will be also in the link in the description. So you can just grab it, import it into Retell, and then do this together with me live. And you have the audience, so who is the customers basically, right? So they are homeowners calling about solar and roofing. They're often stressed, sometimes after a storm, sometimes just price shopping. Many are calling after hours because it's the only time they had. Treat everyone like a job after half theirs, right? Then we add in some tonality and emotional state. So if the caller is distressed, then you need to soften and slow down. If the caller is cheerful, then you can lift slightly. If they're in a hurry, then you can tighten up, right? So you basically try to mirror how the customer is sounding and kind of responding in a similar way. And then you have like how you sound, right? So this is how it would sound like during the call. So it will never talk like a robot, so we don't want it to sound robotic. So basically we'll never have things like polished, right? I'll be happy to assist you with scheduling an estimate. Certainly I can absolutely help you with that. This sounds extremely robotic and we don't want to do that. Instead, you can give it examples of what it should sound like. One of the tricks that I like using, especially if we're going to be using Katisha as the TTS, so text to speech, remember, is what turned the text into sound, right, into audio. One of the ways that I like is using this XML text. So XML is just having this kind of text here, right? And I like to having some natural pauses to make it sound more human or more realistic sounding. So it would be say, yeah, break time equals to 300 milliseconds, right? So basically it would say, yeah, and then it will pause and it would be like, for sure, I can get someone to take a look for you, right? Well, okay, so let me just grab a couple of details to make it sound a little more realistic sounding. And also we will be putting in some example words, for example, filler words or rules that will make it sound more human. And the next part of the prompt is what we call the task flow, which will be a step-by-step kind of conversational flow, right? So we'll start with one, greetily warm, the company name and your name. That's how you can help. And then the second one is converse naturally. So respond to what they actually say. If they describe a problem, echo it back, etc. So this is like the list of tasks they must do and must follow when talking to a customer, right? So this is kind of the task flow, right? And because we'll be using tools, it's a good idea to include in the prompt what are the tools that we'll be using and when to use them. An example will be save lead, right? So call this once you have at minimum the caller's name, number, what they need, capture it before you close the call, etc. So this is like describing what the tools will do, right? Another call is transfer call. And you describe to the agent when to use it, which is when it's a genuine emergency or when the caller explicitly asks to speak to a person. You also have a tool called end call, which will literally just end the call, and the knowledge base, which is using it to answer the questions, anything about the business, like the service area, etc. And then I always like to add in some response rules or limitations. So like just high level rules. So like, for example, always respond to the caller's specific situation. If they're upset, lead with one calm reassurance. If you don't know anything, say so, don't guess, right? Never quote a firm price. Never promise a specific appointment slot, one question at a time, etc. And here I like to have some examples conversations. So like could be like, for example, the first thing you could say is, hey, thanks for calling, etc. This is Maya. To be honest, I don't really like having the prompt here. So what I usually do is I remove this and put it inside the welcome message and have the AI to speak first here. So it will basically say, thanks for calling Apex. It should be Apex Solar and Roofing, right? So I'm just going to copy that. But here, this is Maya, and then you have a break. How can I help you today, right? So the AI will speak this message every single time and will speak first, right? Etc. So now, what I'm going to do now is I will need to switch the LLM. Like, to be honest, for this kind of use case, this 5.1 is more than enough. And for text-to-speech, I like using Katisha, or you can use 11 Labs if you want to. And we will be using Ellie.
Whether it's one caller or 100, I'm here to ensure every...
Seems I didn't select that. I click Save. And there's something called Agent Handbook. These are basically toggles that will improve the performance of the voice agent. So I would like to keep it professional and conversational. Basically, it will run for a colloquial model to make it sound a little bit more human. We can add in natural filler words to make it high empathy. We can also add in verification. So basically, if we're trying to collect the phone numbers of the person, it's a good idea to turn them on just so that you can verify and check the agent actually collects the right number. Phonetic alphabet to make sure you're pronouncing words correctly. Normalization, because in voice, you don't want it to, for example, 2412, you don't want it to say 2412. You want it to say $24.12. Smart matching will turn it on as well. Trust and safety, boundaries, etc. I'm just going to turn it on and save all the configurations. These are just preset configuration, and it's just best practices to turn those on. And time zone awareness, it's important, for example, if you want the agent to know what time it is, and if you do any sort of appointment booking, for example, if the user said next Tuesday, you want the agent to be able to know what next Tuesday actually means, right? So that's why it's a good idea, at least for me, to turn it on because I'm in London. So I'm going to turn on this time zone. And now the prompt and everything is configured. Now let's actually configure the tools. The first one we already have it configured is a default tool, which is end the call, right? This is one of the tools that we already said we're going to have, right? And we're going to have another tool called transfer call. If you click on call transfer, you can just say transfer the call to human agent, and you would just put in the phone number that you want to transfer to of the human. I'm just going to put this default number in there. It should be transfer call. Yep, that's correct. And the last, and one of the tools is called Save Lead. Now that is a custom tool. There are some default tools within Retell, but the one that we'll be using is a custom function. So we need to put in a custom function. So I'll call this Save Lead. And then I like to put in the description, basically letting the agent know when to actually call this tool. So I'll put in save the caller as a new lead once you have a first name and the callback number and the job type. Call before closing, capture the leads only, and does not block the time. Put in the description. And now we want to be able to save it somewhere into a CRM that used by the business, right? So a good way to mimic this is actually through NAN. So if you didn't know, NAN is basically an automation platform that allows us to do these kind of automation workflows and connect this to our voice agent. So within NAN, we have something called called data tables. And data tables are basically kind of like mock, if you want to, it's kind of like a mock CRM, right? So we can make one from scratch. So I'm going to call this Apex, and I'll start it from scratch. I'm going to click create. And from here, you can add columns, kind of like, think of it like a spreadsheet, like a Google Sheets. You can define what each column actually, what data it actually stores. So I can put in name, right? So the name of the customer, and I can add a column. I can add a column called phone, which will be the phone number of the client. And the third one that we need to collect is the job type. So put in job type as a string, and I'm going to add it in here. So there will be 3 data that we need to collect in the data table called Apex, and that will be our CRM. So now let's go ahead and create a workflow. And the first thing I'm going to do is going to create a webhook. So I'm just going to call it Apex 1. I'm going to call a webhook. So a webhook, as you probably know from the previous session, is just a way of it's the doorbell, right? It's a way to, when something happens, to trigger this webhook in order to activate some sort of workflow. So think of it like the voice agent, whenever it wants to call this tool, it's kind of knocking on this NAN workflow door. And now the NAN workflow will be activated because the kind of webhook got alarmed by the voice agent, and it will run the entire workflow, which in this case will be saving the lead into our data table. So what I'm going to go ahead and click on the production URL, change it to post. Now, usually the 2 most common method is post and get. Post is when we want to push data from, let's say, the voice agent into the NAN, whereas get is when we want to retrieve information from NAN back to Retell, back to the voice agent. So we're going to click post. And for now, I'm just going to click on use respond to webhook node. I'm going to copy this URL, and I'm going to post this here. And this is post. And now we can actually request what we'll be sending to Apex, right? So we've collected, for example, the first one will be the name. So we can put in a description. So I can say the full name of the customer, or I can just say the name of the customer. And I can click this as required. So this will always be required to send it into the NAN. I can also have a phone. So I can say the phone number of the customer, and that will be required as well. And I can have the third field, which is job type, the type of jobs for the customer, right? This is also required. And one thing I like is essentially to talk while waiting. So that it doesn't feel like there's a gap between when we're waiting for this tool to execute. I'm going to click save. And now we've configured the save lead tool. And now we have this. We also need to connect this to the data table. So if I type data table, and I'm going to click on insert row. So we're going to choose the correct data table, which is Apex, name, phone number, and job type. Now if we publish this and make this go live, essentially, and now what we can do in order to configure this workflow is to click on the tool, and then we click on test. And now we can actually paste in the body in order to test this, right? So I can put in something like, name. So I can just put in like Ed maybe. And then I can put in a phone number, which is phone. I can just put anything in really. It's 123. And then I have the job type, be solar. So again, this is what we call a JSON. A JSON is basically one of the most common things you can see when building this build, which is essentially a way to transfer information from one place to another, which is stored in kind of the key value pair. So the key, in this case, name, we have the value, which is at, phone, the value is 123, and the job type is solar. So now what we're going to do is going to click run test, check fail to configure your URL and quest body. So let me copy this and let's see. No respond to webhook. I forgot to add in a respond to webhook. That's why I put that in, publish this again. Now, if I just call this again, that should work. Yeah, exactly. So now if we go back to the execution and we copy to editor, and now you can see from the left-hand side what information we're passing from the body, what information we're passing from the webhook into the CRM, right? Now, what we have to do is go back to the variable, so the argument, which is name, phone, and job type, right? So we need to put in the name, the phone number, drag it here, and have the job type, drag it here, and click on the execute step. Now you can see the name, phone, and job type are saved into the Apex CRM, into the data table, right? So now I publish this again in order to save it. So that will be our first workflow. And now if I just try another thing, let's call it John, right? And I run the test, you will see that it returns John, 1, 2, 3, and solar, which means that if you check back at the data table, you can see that it has been added into the CRM. So we have successfully built this tool to save the lead into the CRM. So that's the first custom tool. Now, the only thing that's missing now is the knowledge base. So what I've done is actually I prepared PDF. So what I've done actually is I prepared a markdown file. So if I go to knowledge base and click on add new knowledge base, and I'm going to click on plus, I'm going to click on Apex. Right. Now you can add documents. You can add PDFs, you can add web pages, but what I've done is actually go ahead and copy in a free text. I found it to be the most kind of accurate way of doing knowledge base. And I like to format my knowledge base in markdown format with the hashtag. And this has been proven that by using markdown formatting, it will improve the accuracy of the AI agent trying to retrieve this knowledge base. So I'm just going to call the file Apex. I'm going to click save, and now it will try to upload this into the Retell's knowledge base. So now you can see successfully uploaded. Now if you go back to this agent, you can click add. Let me just click publish quickly. And now let me refresh this, go back to the knowledge base, click add, click Apex. And now the agent has access to the Apex knowledge base that I just updated. You can try to change the amount of chunks to retrieve. By definition, this kind of knowledge base, by the way, if you didn't know, means that the entire document that you just uploaded got divided into small sections like chunks. And how the knowledge base works is essentially the agent should be able to retrieve the most similar chunks, the most correct chunks essentially, to the user's question in order to answer the user's question. So right now we've set it to 3 chunks, meaning the agent will search for the 3 most appropriate chunks in order to help answer the user's questions, essentially. We can configure a knowledge base instruction, but I'll just ignore that for now. And we do also have speech settings where if you want to add in background noise, I like to add in some kind of a call center voice, but to make it like really, really quiet, because we don't want it to be too obvious. So I'll just have it as like 0.09. Response eagerness, so how quickly the agent start responding after the user finish. I find that normally 0.8 or 0.9 is best. You can also dynamically adjust based on the user's input, so how quick the agent actually go ahead and responds to users. Interruption sensitivity, how quickly the agent stops when the user talks over to it. Like I like it to be 0.9. And I like to also remove the background speech and noise just to make it sound more accurate. Optimize for speed, this is fine. But yeah, this is pretty much the core settings that you'll be working on when setting up this kind of receptionist. You have the knowledge base, you have the prompt, you have the functions and the tools. So now let's actually publish this and talk to it. So let's just talk to it now.
Thanks for calling Apex Solar and Roofing. This is Maya. How can I help you today?
Hey, there's a big storm that just happened over here in my place and my roof just got destroyed.
Oh no, that sounds rough. Is any water getting into the house right now, or is it just damage on the outside?
There is some water, yeah.
Okay, let me get you over to someone on our team. Just a second.
Right?
I'm so sorry.
So you can see that it tried to do the transfer call. Obviously, this is not a real number, so it failed. But then because the rooftop got destroyed, it's such an urgent thing, so it decided to do the transfer call. So now let me just kind of talk to it in a kind of non-urgent settings.
Thanks for calling Apex Solar and Roofing. This is Maya. How can I help you today?
Hey, I'm a new customer from here, and I'm looking for one of your team to do a solar job for me.
Sure. We start every job with a free visit and quote. To get that set up, what's your first name?
It's Tom.
Okay, Tom. So you're looking to get solar installed at your house. Let me grab a few details. Do you own the home, or is it a rental?
I own the home.
Okay. What's the best number to reach you?
It's +447492421675.
Okay, let me just get that in. So that's +44 749 242 1675. Is that the one?
Yeah.
I've got you down for a solar install, and someone from the team will reach out within the hour to set up your free estimate. Sound good, Tom?
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
All right. Thanks for calling, Tom. We'll take care of you. Take care.
Right, so you can see the two call is getting called successfully with the name and if I just refresh this CRM, essentially we have the name, the phone number, and the job type, which is solar install. Right, perfect. So this works pretty much good. I'm not too happy about the voice, to be honest. Maybe it's because of the default voice, again. But then if you want, like, feel free to explore other voices like 11 Labs, etc. But this is just to show you the very, very basic AI receptionist and how it's able to set up. So well done for sticking with me and building your first AI receptionist. And now let's move on to the second build. Okay, welcome to build 2, which will be speed to lead. So the purposes of this build is basically, imagine you have a Facebook ad or you have some sort of web form on a website. Now, when a lead comes in, they will usually fill in a form on the website or a form attached to a Facebook lead or Facebook ad or meta ad, right? And usually what happens, most businesses actually takes like 42 to 47 hours on average to respond. Some businesses, if you're a small business owner and you're more on it, it would take you a couple, maybe half an hour, couple of hours to respond, right? Surprisingly, 30% of businesses never actually bother to get back to them at all. And the actual minutes to qualify is actually based on research. The optimal amount of time in order to get back to the lead is actually minutes. There's research basically showing that a 5-minute contact, so aka after they fill in the form, if you could contact the lead within 5 minutes while they're still hot and they're still warm, it's actually 21 times more likely to qualify them and convert them, right? First minute response up to 391%. And leads that are called back in 5 minutes close at around a 32% close rate versus a 12% close rate up to 24 hours. Almost like 3 times if you do it within 5 minutes. So that is the majority of the value, is that after the person fill in a Facebook lead, Facebook ad, or a form on the website, an AI voice agent will call the same lead back in under a minute when they're still hot and they're actually very warm, qualifies the lead, and then book an appointment to a human team, right? Because the goal of, that's how businesses work. It's like whoever calls the customers first basically wins, right? So this is the angle that you should approach the businesses, and business in general would definitely, I've talked to so many business owners in Discovery course, and pretty much most of them have this same problem. Like they would never be against it because it's genuinely something that you're recovering essentially lost money to them in a sense. And something like that you can sell for anywhere from $2,000 to $7,000. Plus around the $500 of maintenance, right? And again, the usage is basically when the customer submits a free quote form on a Facebook page, Facebook ad, or landing page, the phone then rings in under 60 seconds, the AI greets them, and then run through a conversational design or a qualification workflow. So just taking a look at our workflow, again, we have the form, which is actually the trigger to trigger the entire automation. Then we have the NAN, which will actually be our orchestration layer of sending those outbound calls to, and we actually have the NAN agent to actually go ahead and qualify them, right? And then we have the Retell outbound AI agent, which is used to go for the conversational flow, right? Just then used to qualify them. And then afterwards, we're going to be booking an appointment into a calendar system and pushing the lead into the CRM, essentially. And there are different tools that were basically available for us to do such a thing. First of all, we have the trigger, which is basically going to be a form lead within NAN. So obviously, in your use case or in any business use case, Usually it's going to be a meta ad, right? Or it's going to be a website form, like a webhook, essentially, that triggers whenever a user submits a form. And then it will call the NAN, right, which will be the workload that calls the Retell API to initiate the outbound code back to the customers. Then we have the AI voice agent inside Retell to actually do the conversational flow. We also have dynamic variables, right? That basically we have the name and, for example, all the relevant variables are going to be embedded into the Retell AI voice agent. So it will know, for example, my name is Edwin and my phone number is 123, for example. And then obviously the last two is going to be booking appointments. So once the user is actually qualified, it will go ahead and actually book an appointment with a real human so that they can get on a sales call. So that's the high-level overview of what we'll be building in this specific build. So let's get straight to NA10. So the first thing we actually want to do now is actually we have a form trigger. So we have the NAN form. Again, this is just for me to kind of simulate what a Facebook ad form or a website form will actually look like, right? So I'll just say on a new event, we can have the form title, which could be, let's say, consultation call, right? And I'll just put in the description of the form, be like, fill in your personal information and we'll have someone from our team to get back to you. And we can design the form elements, so I can say, what is your name? And then we have a text input here, right? And then I can add another element. What is the best phone number to contact you? Another text input. What is the service that you're interested in? What is your monthly energy bill? Right, that's it. And when the form is submitted, right, that will trigger it. So if we just kind of execute the step, so now if I go back, right, on form submission, now if I click on this link, and if I go now and paste it here, now it will be a form, basically, right? And now let's actually just fill this in, just to test it. So I say my name is Tom, say my actual phone number, what's the service you're interested in? So I'll just say solar. What is your monthly energy bill? So it'll be like maybe $100, right? And then click submit. And now inside the executions, you can just copy to editor. And now we can see the data that we just captured, right? From here, right? These are the different values that we captured. And now what we can do is we're going to be calling an API node, so which will be the HTTP request. Remember, this is basically just a way for us to write API integration from one place to another, right? So I'm just going to put post. And we'll be using the Retell outbound API. This, right, the API Retell, create a phone call. So I'll just send the header, which is going to be authorization. And we'll need the Retell API key. In order to do so, you go back to Retell AI, you go down, go to settings, and you go to API keys. From here, you can add an API key, right? I'm just going to call it test2, click save. I'm going to copy this, and now I'm going to paste this in here. And now I can just have the body, which is the name of the body, which in this case will be name. So I'll just put Tom in here, which is the value, which is Tom. I'm going to click. Basically, the reason why I'm putting this in is basically these are the fields or the information that will be sending to the Retell AI agent. So the Retell AI agent have all the context of the person. So it will know what the name is, so it will know the person that is calling is called Tom, for example, right? So I'll just say, actually it's easier probably to use JSON. So we have this structure, which is from the number to number, right? So from now we have from, which we will need to assign from the Retell side of things. So this is the actual Retell number, right? The number will be this one. The name will be Tom. And then we have the service requested, and then we have the monthly bill, which will be here. And then the lead ID. To be fair, we don't really need the lead ID for this one. Yeah, we don't really need that. And the lead source will be Facebook. Yeah, we don't really need the metadata. So now, this is pretty much what we'll be sending towards Retell. So we'll be sending from which number to which number, which is the phone number the user put in, the agent ID, which you could get from Retell, and then you have the Retell dynamic variables, and then you have the Retell dynamics variables. So these are the variables that will appear within Retell agent: the first name, the service request, monthly bill, and the lead source. Now, what we're going to be doing now is, this will make more sense to you once we actually configure the agent inside Retell. So what we're going to do now is actually go ahead and go to Retell. So we're going to go back to Retell. I'm going to be building another single prompt agent, and we're going to call the second agent, which in this case will be build 2, right? It's going to be the speed to lead agent. So I already have a template, so I'm just going to kind of go over this prompt. So again, you're Maya calling on behalf of, I'll just call it Apex Solar and Roofing. This is an outbound call. You were calling them, right? So just again, making sure that the agent is aware that it's an outbound call. Seconds after they're asking for a quote online, they're not expecting the phone to ring this fast. So your job is to be warm, human, and instantly make sense of why they're calling. And then you give them a backstory, which is the person who calls you back so fast, so warmly that you're glad you filled out the form. Never a telemarketer. So basically, don't sound like you're trying to sell them something. She sounds like a helpful human from a local company who genuinely wants to get you looked after. So basically, the audience is home number whose name, right? We already know the name, whose name is, which is again, the variable needs to match exactly what's on the NAN. So if you go back to the NAN, the variable is called first name, right? So we're going to copy that and paste it in here. So in order to make a variable inside Retell, all you have to do is do a double kind of curly bracket and paste in first name, right? So I mean, whose name is first name, whose moments ago request a service, right? Let's see if it matches. Yep, service request, which is Solar, from the lead source, which is Facebook. They're interested, but they might be too busy driving or surprised anyone at all. Some will be all in, some will be half curious, some build out 3 forms and forgot. Meet them where they are, right? And then again, you have the baseline tone, which is warm, easy, and basically we don't want it to sound like you're selling something, you're helping them, right, etc. And we're just giving some more conversational guidelines on just the conversation design on how it should sound. And again, we have more like, for example, sentences on how it should sound like, so we shouldn't be robotic, right? So we say like, hey, absolutely, great. Again, things that will make it very clear that it's an AI and it's robotic. And we can make it more realistic sounding by actually having like break time. So like say, hey, break time equals 300 milliseconds, right? This kind of tech is what kind of make it more natural. So it would be like, hey, so you just put in the Solar code, right? So notice how I kind of pause after the to make it sound like I'm thinking. So this is the kind of the realistic kind of matching pattern that we want to create, just like in build one. And again, we have the conversation to flow. So just to confirm you got the right person by first name, which is the variable first name, right? And then say who you are and where you're calling from. Then you ask for permissions. Then if it's a bad time, over to book a callback or text. Reference the exact request, right, which is the Solar, right? If it is personal, not random. Qualify gently, 1 question at a time. Do they own the home? Roughly what their electric bill is. To be honest, they already know, which is monthly bill. And just confirm what is the monthly electric bill for Solar, which is monthly bill, right, which is this variable, right, or what's going on as soon as they're looking to move, right. And then you can see when to use this tool. So there are 3 tools. The first one is book appointment, which is call this one the users qualify and has agreed to a time for the reassessment. Offer 2 or 3 options, let them pick, then click, right. Or you can transfer, I'll just change the transfer call. Only if the user explicitly wants to speak to a human or it's an urgent inquiry, then we can transfer to a live person, just like the last call, or we can end call whether it's basically finished, right? To be fair, we don't need the knowledge base for this build. And from here, we'll let the AI speaks first, of course. So we're going to be a custom message, and they're like, hey, it's this first name. It's Maya over at Apex Solar and Roofing. You just put in a service request a minute ago. They catch you at an okay time, right? This is kind of the custom beginner. So they will put in for this beginning, so like the welcome message, I'll just put in AI speaks first and there's a dynamic message. So yeah, this is pretty much just a simple qualification and the booking. So we can also build out the book appointments too, right? So in here we have the end call, of course, and then we have the transfer call, which is transfer the call to human agent, right? And then we also have the kind of check availability cow. So we actually need a separate tool here. So for check availability cow, I'll just say call this once the user qualify and it's agreed to a time for a free assessment. I'll just say use this tool to check for whether the time slot the user suggested is available or not. And then we have the book appointment, which is the book appointment cow, right? So I'll just put in that. And I'll just say use this tool once the user actually confirmed they want the slots and go ahead and create the appointment. And these tools, we're actually using something called cow.com, which is basically a appointment booking software that can link to your calendar system. So if you go to cow.com, it can link it to anything you want. So it could be literally Outlook calendar, a Google calendar. It doesn't really matter, right? So I'm just going to be clicking a quick I'll just put in a call it a discovery call. And right now, this cal.com is actually connected to my Google Calendar. I'll just put in 30 minutes for myself. And from here, I can just put in if you quickly copy this number inside this URL, this actually would be your event ID, right? And I'm just going to put in my time zone, which is London for me. And we also need the API key. So I'm just going to click to Google Meet. And I will need the API key, which I can get from go to settings, developer, API keys. I'm going to click and create new, create a new one. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it in here, right? I'm going to click save. Oh, I missed a P here. There you go. And then I'm going to click on book apartment cal. Again, I'm going to put in the same API key and also the same event ID as previously, as the one I just created, the discovery call I just created. Again, I'm going to put in Europe, London. I'm going to click create, I'm going to click save. And that will actually go ahead and book the appointments, right? And now I just need to change the LLM. So I like using 5.4. Like to use Katisha.
Hello, I'm Grace, an AI voice agent.
Hi, I'm Haley, an AI voice agent for Retell.
So I'm going to be using the Haley voice from Katisha, Sonic 3.5, and going to be turning on again the preset agent handbooks, right? Turn on all of them, click save, and I'm going to click on GT+1, which is kind of the London time zone that I'm in right now. And yeah, it has all the tools, it has all the functions. I'm just going to go ahead and tweak some, remove noise and background speech, but otherwise it's okay. Yeah, I'm going to click on that and click on publish. Right now we have the agent, and now we need to attach the phone number to it. So now, in order to do that, you go to phone numbers in Retell. Oh, let me just refresh. Click on phone number, and already got a phone number. If you don't have one, you can just go ahead and buy a phone number from Twilio in the US, right? Just buy a new phone number, and afterwards, all you have to do is click on the phone number that you want and attach to the agent that you wanted to attach to. So I want to attach this phone number to the build to speed to lead, latest published, and I'm gonna go ahead and that's fine. It's already so this phone number is now attached to this specific agent. And now I can just copy this phone number, go back to the Retell API, paste in the phone number. I don't even need this. And now I can just give it a go. So one correction before I continue is that the attaching the phone number to the agent, this one is actually the inbound one. We actually want to attach the outbound one because we actually want the number to call us, right? So we're going to go to speed to lead. I'm going to click on latest publish, and that's it. And now within NAN, now if you click on execute step, you will see that the payload that I'm transferring is from the number that I attached the outbound voice agent to the number that the user puts in, the first name, the service request, the monthly bill, and lead source, right, etc. So this is it. Now, this call, as you can see, has been successfully triggered, but unfortunately inside Retell, because I'm in the UK, unfortunately it said telephony provider permission denied. So essentially, because I have I'm on a Vodafone, which is the UK provider network. This is a US number, so this US number cannot make international calls to the UK. So that is why this basically got denied. So unfortunately, I can't actually use the phone to actually test this out. But what I can do is actually just talk to this, test this out inside the testing interface of the agent. But if you're from the US, if you follow exactly what I did, you should be able to get a phone call. Right, so let's talk to it.
Hi, is this first_name? Hey, first_name.
Actually, I think it's better if I put in some test variable. So I'll put in Tom, put in Solar, and then put in Facebook, and I'm going to put in $100. Right, I'm going to click save, and I'm going to test.
Hey Tom, it's Maya over at Apex Solar and Roofing. You just put in for a solar quote a minute ago. Did I catch you at an okay time, Tom?
Yeah, I'm free to speak.
Yeah, so you were looking at solar. What are you hoping to get out of it?
To be honest, my monthly bill is a bit too high. It's $100. So I was thinking, it's really sunny in the summer, etc. So I was thinking of switching or installing a solar panel. So, start saving energy.
Right. So the bill's sitting around $100 a month, and you're mainly trying to bring that down. Do you own the place?
I do.
Got it. So you own the home, and that bill's around $100 a month. How soon are you hoping to get this moving?
Probably in the next 2 months, maybe, if it's possible.
Okay, so you're looking to do it sometime in the next couple of months, which is, kind of ideal. So here's what I do. We do a free assessment, someone comes out, looks at the roof and the sun, and gives you real numbers. Let me just find you a time. Are mornings or afternoons better?
How about next Tuesday around, 10 a.m.? Does it work?
Okay, let me just check Tuesday at 10 for you. Right. Tuesday at 10's already gone, but I've got Tuesday from 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. or from 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Which one works better?
I can do 12:30.
Sure. Just to make sure we're looking at the same thing, do you mean Tuesday at 12:30 p.m.?
Yep.
Okay, I can get that set for Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. What name should I put on the appointment?
Tom is fine.
Right. I've got Tom. What's the best email for the confirmation?
It will be 123@gmail.com.
Okay, just to confirm, that's 123@gmail.com, correct?
Yep.
Got it. What's the best phone number for the appointment?
This number is fine, so +44 749 2265 655.
Okay, let me just get to booked for you. Okay, you're all set.
Yep, that's it. That's basically build 2. So let's go ahead, call it and qualifies me and then book an appointment. Now, please test it out with this outbound API. It should work if you're in the US. If you're from the US, that should work for you just fine. And you should get it or call from your phone number. So let's actually now move to build 3, which will be lead reactivation. All right, welcome to build 3 lead reactivation. And this is probably one of the most important builds out of all the 4 builds in terms of the value that you can give to your clients. What it is actually, if you didn't know, is essentially it's an outbound AI campaign that will call leads that are kind of just sitting there in your CRM. Because if you imagine you're a business, let's say you're a salon, you will have leads that are saved in your CRM that maybe they visited 1 time, maybe 2 times for your services, but they never actually come back. Or you haven't really contacted them in like months, for example, right? So this kind of AI campaign actually calls those leads back because those leads are kind of already warm in a sense, right? They're warm leads. So we try to search for the entire CRM list, re-engage with the warm ones that have already purchased your services or products, and try to win them back and try to book them back for a new appointment, right? Try to basically sell them on a new services or product, right? So this is basically just free leads that have been sitting in your CRM and you're just trying to make money out from the leads again. And where's the kind of ROI from this is that up to around 73% of leads were never properly worked. Most of these CRMs are sitting on the CRM and they're making $0 in most businesses. So let's say if you have 300 dead leads, right? And let's say for really conservatively, 41 of them booked back for a new appointment, that's already a $37,000 pipeline, right? So you basically added 10 to 30% conversion because they're warm already. They've bought your services and product before. So they trust you already and they know what you're doing. So it's not to a cold audience, right? So in terms of marketing, you have leads that are either really warm, meaning that they know your services, they trust you already, and they have a very high buying intent, and there's a lot of urgency in that. Versus cold leads, they are people who have never heard of you, who don't know about your business, who has no reason to trust you, right? And it's much harder to sell to the cold leads, right? Most business owners try to sell to the cold leads, right? You hear that all the time. Cold calling, cold emails, right? Whereas they're just literally leads sitting in your database that are super easy. You just need to contact them, right? And this is how you can do that at scale. And again, it's the easiest sales in the agency, right? It's basically just pure upside because you're already having a cost of having them in the CRM anyway. You might as well just use them. For these kind of builds, you can charge anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 setup fee and potentially $500 to $3,000 per month retainer, depending on how you set it up. Or you can engage them with a revenue sharing on the reactivated value. So saying for all the leads that you reactivated, you share 30% back. So this is what the diagram actually looks like. So you have a CRM with the list. You exported them as a CSV. So each row, if you don't know what CSV is, basically an Excel format, if you want to imagine that. It's basically 1 row per lead. Then using Retell, we're basically going to batch call those leads. So maybe we call 20 leads or 50 leads during those time, right? Or 100 leads during those time. And we can call it between 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. We can set a batch call so that during those time frame, we'll be calling, let's say, every 50 minutes, etc. The agent then talks to the person that's trying to reactivate the customers, trying to requalify them and book an appointment. So either it's a win, therefore an appointment is booked, so that means more revenue, or we tag them saying that they're not interested. So we analyze the call and then we write back to the CRM saying maybe the reason why they're not interested, or what are kind of like the context around the customers right now. And then we try again at some later point, right? And there are different tools, right? So when I said tool, I don't literally mean like the tool calling, but like things that we can use. So the first one is the CSV. The second one is the pacing, right? This is basically how if you want to imagine these two, maybe I shouldn't use tool because it's confusing, but these two features are what we're going to be using to control the outbound campaign. Whereas we can also set retry, right? So we can set up a retry logic. So like if they don't pick up or if they went to voicemail, you don't count it as reached, you try again. This position is basically logging the timestamp, the status of the user, so if they're both interested or they're not interested, etc. And then we do the CRM write back, so we're basically updating the conversational history and what was discussed during the call back to the CRM and in the end, right? This is how we're going to envision doing build 3. So let's actually start building. And I'm just going to create another single prompt agent. Don't worry, we'll be doing a conversational flow agent in the next build, so you get a good understanding, right, of all the different builds. But to be completely honest, a lot of the use cases, single prompt agent is more than enough, right? There's a reason for it, because it's simple to set up, and conversational flow agent is infinitely more complex to set it up. All right, so now we have the prompt. So I'm going to call it build 3, kind of lead reactivation maybe. And now we have the template of the prompt, so let's go for it. So again, you're Maya calling on behalf of Apex Solar and Roofing, so I'll just change that. This is an outbound reactivation call, so again, giving the context about the original service, which is a variable. This will be a column in the CSV, which you will see in a bit, right? A while back, the time frame, which will be included in the spreadsheet, and never move forward. You're following up to see if they're still on their mind, what objections they have, essentially. You give the backstories again, right? This is pretty much the same. If you don't worry too much about the prompt, it will be in the link in the description, so you can just copy this. But essentially, the settings, hopefully you're aware now, no matter it's an inbound call or an outbound call, the structure of the prompt doesn't really change. It's always structured so that you provide some context about who they are, the backstory, who the audience is, so who are they talking to, the baseline tone, etc. And how you sound doesn't change, right? It's the same kind of realistic sounding voice that we want, and to make sure that it's actually speaking natural languages, not like weird robotic languages, right? It's exactly the same as how we've done previously, right? And then for the task flow, it's slightly different this time, which is confirms the right person by first name, and then remind them why you're calling, right? So because they ask about some service that they were interested in, and then let them react. They will talk something else, and then you find out where they land, like still thinking about it, they did it already or moved on. And then if they're still interested, you requalify them, right, one at a time. For example, do they still own the house? Do they share the same goal, or any rough timeline now? If won't get, and then basically you echo the important bits, so trying to converse naturally with them. And then basically go to the appointment booking, and you've done the appointment booking already. So you know the two tools that we use, which is the check availability and the book on the calendar, right? Use the calendar call. So I should ideally add a tool here, check availability, right? So I should add a tool here. Use it when the user are qualified and have agreed to a time. Use this tool to check whether this slot is available for booking. And I'll just say only after check availability returns a true result, meaning that slot that the user suggested is indeed available and the user confirmed that they want to do this slot. Use this tool to actually book the appointment. So there are so knowledge based, again, it's just the standard call. So we have the transfer, right? We have the transfer as a tool, right? So there are 4 tools, the classic tools that you already know. I should probably also add in the check availability here, right? Ask the user what time and date they would like for the appointment, and then use check availability tool to check whether the slots are available. If they are, then book. This is our logic, and yeah, this is pretty much it. So the prompt is actually it's actually just 10% of the work. This is like a very simple prompt that we've been using. So AI Speaks First, which is dynamic message. Like to change it to 5.4, as you know. Change the voice to Katisha. I do like another voice that I really like is Tamsin. So maybe we can try that. Yeah, Katisha. Just to turn on the agent handbooks again, right? Which is a default setting, so you already know. Click save. Time zone. because we're doing appointment booking, again, should be aware now that we need to turn on to London time zone where I am. And now I'm just gonna add the tool, right, which is the call transfer call, check availability. Gonna be using the same event ID as previously, right, just for the purposes of building out this demo. And then we have the settings, API keys, new, copy this. I'll be deleting the API key, so don't worry about it. Gonna click save, check availability. Oh, I might just change the tool name now. And also obviously book the appointment. Just again, you can, as you're probably aware, it's a lot of like manual work to get this right, but just bear with me. Europe, right, London, I click save. And now we have the tools needed, right? And also we just click publish. Also, what we can potentially do is use the post-call data extraction, because we want to know if the call was actually successful, right? So what this actually does is that after the call, right, after the call finish, Retell will actually use a LLM like GPT in order to extract information from the call, right? By default, it will do the call summary, right, which is basically write a 1 to 3 sentence summary of the call based on the transcript, right? So you capture important information, whether the call was successful or not, and how the user was happy. So I can also add another feature to be collected is where it's basically saying success. I would just say booked, whether the user is interested in the service and therefore has booked an appointment, or if the user is no longer interested in our services. And I like to use GPT maybe for many for this, right? Let's do this for now, right? And click publish. And now for the magic part, for the actual scheduling of the outbound campaign. So what you have to do is actually go to batch call. There's 2 ways to do this. You can either do it through the UI, which is through in Retell AI, or you can do it through the API. So both have its own advantages, but because as you first started out, I would suggest using it inside the dashboard in Retell to make it simpler. So just click on create a batch call, and I'll just call Apex. From number, we already have a number, and we just basically there's a template that you can use. So if you click that CSV template, you need to fill in this template. So you will have, for example, the phone number, the different dynamic variables, and the metadata that you need to fill in. Usually what I like to do is I just give it to Claude to fill in the template, and let me just upload the template. Yep, the Apex, the reactivation CSV. Just to give you an idea, this is what it looks like. So you will have different ID. So the way you need to format is, for example, the ID, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The phone number that you're contacting, these are the phone number. Ignore E16 validation. Don't worry about it. Just keep it as false for now. The first name, which is, these are basically custom fields that you can adjust. So for example, if for our demo, obviously one of them is name, because the agent needs to know what name the person actually is, right? So it would be first name. Original service, we discussed this in the prompt. What services were they interested in when they first contacted us, right? So in this case, it will be a solar quote, or a roof instruction, or a full roof replacement, solar panels and battery, or storm damage on your roof, right? And you also have the inquiry time frame. So what is the timeline? So it was 4 months back, early this spring, around 6 months ago, etc. Then we have the lead ID. This lead ID ideally should reconcile with the ID that you're using in your CRM. And this is just kind of the metadata. You don't have to worry too much about that, to be honest. But this is an example of what it looks like. So you can also control when to send the calls. You can either send it now, or you can schedule the call, right? If you decide to schedule the call, you can select what time. So let me say I want to schedule it next Monday at, let's say, 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. when, 11 a.m., doesn't matter, when my user is most likely to answer my calls, right? So I can choose that and click apply. So I've selected a schedule, right? And then how many concurrent calls? So number of concurrency reserved for all the calls. So how many calls will happen at the same time? So the maximum is 15, right? For now, but you can buy more concurrency with Retell. So, but now let's just choose 5 for now, right? So basically that means that it will send out at 11 a.m. next Tuesday. It will send out 5 calls at the same time. That's what it means. And once you are happy with it, then you can click send, right? So if you schedule now, you cannot edit the schedule after confirming, right? So obviously I'm not going to be sending out this call. I'm just click cancel. But if you want to try it out with a few leads that you already have for the business, feel free to click schedule now, right? I'm just going to cancel. And by the way, I can't, because it's a US number and I'm a UK number, so I can't actually do it on my end anyway. But this is actually how you would create the batch calling or outbound campaigns inside Retell, right? But for now, let's just actually test it out regardless with the variables, right? I should probably reference first name as well, which there's already. So let me just change the variables for testing. We have first name, so let me say Tom. Business name, click say, I don't need business name because it's Apex obviously. So the inquiry time frame, let's say 4 months ago, right? The original service, what is the original service? Well, it was requesting a solar, click save, and we're gonna test it out.
Hi, is this Tom?
Yeah, who is this?
Hey, so this is Maya with Apex Solar and Roofing. You'd asked us about a solar roof a few months back, and I'm just checking if it's still on your radar. No worries at all if the timing's off.
No, it's all good. I was actually about to check in to see what price are you guys doing now.
Yeah, I can help at a high level, but I don't know current pricing off the top, and I wouldn't want to make up a number. The free assessment is how we get real numbers for your home. Are you mainly looking at solar, roofing, or both?
I'm looking for just solar.
Right, just solar. Do you still own the home?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so it's still your place. Is the main goal lower electric bills?
Yes, but also like it's summer right now, so I just want to take advantage of that.
Yeah, lower bills, and you'd like to make the most of summer. What's your rough timeline for getting this moving?
Maybe like next month, as soon as possible.
Got it. So you're looking at solar, you own the home, and you'd like to get this going as soon as possible. Right. So here's the easy next step. We do a free assessment, no cost. Someone comes out and gives you real numbers. Are mornings or afternoons better?
Maybe afternoon? Maybe next Monday at 2 p.m.?
Sure. Let me just check that slot for you. Okay. 2 p.m. next Monday isn't open, but I do have Monday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. or later that evening from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Which one works better?
I can do 12.
Sure. Monday at 12 p.m. works. What's the best email for the appointment?
It's just test@gmail.com.
Right. I've got test@gmail.com. What name should I put on the appointment?
Just the same name, Tom is fine.
Okay. I've got Tom. What's the best phone number for the appointment?
This number, so it will be 123.
Got it. I need the full phone number to book it. Can you give me the rest of it?
Yeah, so it's +44 749 2665 675.
Sure. Let me just lock that in for you. Okay. You're all set. I've got you booked for Monday, July 13th at 12 p.m. for the free solar assessment. A confirmation will go to test@gmail.com. Let me know if that works.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. Then you're good to go. Take care now.
Right? So you pretty much get like the whole reactivation, the rough logic of the entire reactivation to the appointment booking. So now, remember how we said there is the post-call data analytics. So it's basically extracting the information that about the call, right? So where is that saved? So actually, there's two places you can find. So the first place is in actually call history. So if you click on the call history in Retell, you can see if you click on the data, you can see like, first of all, these are the variables that we set, but also inside the dashboard, you can see that the call successful, it was successful, right? The user sentiment, it was positive, right? You can also see like the custom analysis, which is booked, the one that we set up, which is booked an appointment for a free solar assessment, right? So this was the custom one that we set up. So obviously this is useful, right? Inside Retell. But of course, if you say you want to save it back to the CRM, then we can do something very similar to the previous builds, which is again using the NAN, right? So for example, you would just get a webhook, turn it to post, right, with the production URL, and then you would append again literally the same node as the previous builds, right? Which is using the data table, imagining this is your CRM, and you would just upsearch the row. So you would just update the row based on the phone number, right? So again, very, very similar to build to what we've done before. So I'm not going to do it here. You can do it as an exercise if you would like, but you can also save these kind of results inside your own CRM as well. So yeah, this has been lead reactivation. And now we're going to the fourth build, which is going to be the conversational flow build of the booking and no-show reminders agent. And I'll see that. All right, let's go to build 4, our final build. And in this build, we're going to be building a booking and no-show recovery AI voice system. So the whole point of this system is that we have our normal 24/7 AI inbound voice agent. that does normal booking, appointment booking, nothing special. But then what happens is it will also confirm the appointments before it happens. So basically sending a reminder text and a reminder phone call. So where does this, why are we building this, right? Because no-shows, I don't know if you know, but like especially for businesses like restaurants are a big thing, right? How many times have you booked a restaurant booking and then you just didn't turn up, right? Happens very often. So no-shows basically runs around 10 to 30%, right? So every empty slot is unrecoverable time. So let's say I booked for dinner for tomorrow night. I didn't show up. Someone else wanted to book for that slot, couldn't get that slot. So you're basically losing that customer then because you can't turn back time. So that is why we have this text and the voice reminders. Both of these combined together actually cuts no-shows for businesses 30 to 60% and admin work up to 50%. So if you're a business that book a lot of appointments, aka like 200 appointments a week, you could potentially recover $40,000 to $65,000 a year in revenue at just 7% recovery rate. So this is where the value is coming from. And if you're a builder, you can comfortably charge somewhere around $5,000 to $10,000 for a system like this, given that it actually works, of course, with the actual booking systems, like those legacy booking systems, and actually does the reminders. And the usage really, like, again, any service business or any calendar-driven business, a lot of appointment bookings would want to use this. And this is what the build actually looks like. We have the call, we have the retail agent, we do the booking to the calendar and the CRM, there is one. And maybe a day before the actual events, we send a reminder text and call. Sounds simple, but there you can see there's some complexity in here. Talking about tools, there are 4 different tools really. One is to check availability, right? Classic book an appointment. These 2, you should know this by now. This is pretty simple. Then we have the reminder workflow where we'll have an NAN workflow where you schedule a text to the customer to remind them of the event. If they didn't answer, call them. So that will be the value of the entire build. Hopefully that's clear. So now let's get into retail. So now for the first time ever, we'll be using the conversational flow agent. This is slightly more complicated, so we built from scratch. Now, usually, if you didn't know, from a conversational flow perspective, you have things called nodes. So a node is basically a step inside a workflow. As an example, you have the begin node where the call starts. You have the welcome node where this node specifically is for the purposes of welcome. So this entire AI voice agent is just a long business workflow. Each node in the workflow is a specific thing or specific action you want the AI voice agents to do. The advantage of using the conversational flow over the single prompt agent is that you have more control over your business logic. Whereas in the single prompt agent, if you have a long list of tasks that you must fulfill in that specific order, prompting can hallucinate and sometimes the agent can skip a step. Whereas if you're using something deterministic like a workflow, like a conversational flow, it will work through the flow like you design every single time deterministically. So the AI voice agent won't actually skip a step. Now, obviously, the disadvantage is that it takes more time and complexity to actually set this up. And you need to be slightly more technical than just putting a prompt in. So let's actually start building this agent. So luckily for us, Retell actually has a recent feature called Conductor. So Conductor is essentially an AI assistant that can help you build out a voice agent as long as you tell the agent what you need, what you want to build. So this is kind of like, think of it like Claude Code, if you're using Claude Code, but it actually helps you build out the very first draft of the voice agent much faster without all the manual wiring and adding the nodes. It saves you a lot of time. And once it builds out the version 1, then it's your job to enhance and amend however you want it. So what I've done here is actually I have a prompt for the Conductor agent. So I said, build me a conversational flow voice agent for Apex and Solar Roofing. The agent called Maya book 3 on-site assessments in the calendar and make outbound calls to confirm upcoming appointments. If a caller wants to reschedule or cancel, she warmly hands them to human. Right. She handles both inbound calls and outbound reminder calls. Reuse my existing FAQ knowledge base at the flow level. And then we tell what voice and what model we want. To be honest, it doesn't really matter because we can just switch it here. And then we have the persona, which is the global prompt. Now, in conversational flow agent, there is something called the global settings or the global prompt. So think of it like a high level, like the highest level of agent in this conversational flow. Every node in this agent will always have the global prompt attached to it. So if you have like a sub agent, let's say you have a conversation node, right? And then you have the AI, right? You have the AI, so you put your system prompt here. This node will reference to this global prompt all the time. So this is kind of like where you'll put in like general things that are always true, no matter which point in your conversation flow. So whether it's the identity or the persona of the agent, what it does, high level background and tonality and language of the voice agent, how you want it to sound exactly, etc. This is where you put those in. So that's why I said in the prompt to the conductor agent, I already put in the global prompt or the persona that I want it to be. Don't worry about this, like I will just put it it's also in the link in the description for the global prompt. So this is just the workflow I want it to be, and I just click send. So again, I just give it how the flow I envision the flow to be. We have a start node, and then we have a greet and route. Right, so basically asking what is the use case, what is the caller using. If they want to book an appointment, go ahead and book an appointment. Answer questions, go ahead and answer questions. Transfer call, etc. Then if they want to reschedule or cancel an appointment, then you ask for a person to transfer the call, right, etc. So now it's working and it will actually start building out the workflow. So now it has written the full plan. Like you can see the plan. So usually what this agent conductor actually does before it actually execute anything, you can actually see the plan that it's doing and see if it's correct or not. So for example, it would say the business context or the business is the persona, which is how I put it, the objectives of the voice agent, which is to book on-site assessment, answer general questions, confirm an upcoming appointment, which is an outbound reminder, and handoff or rescheduling. And there are different exit conditions, etc. Compliance and safety, example calls, etc. So if you just look through this and you're happy with the example, it can even generate a call flow diagram, right, inside the conductor prompt. I wish there's a way to expand this because it's quite hard to see. But basically, you have the call purpose, you have the inbound written route, and then either you want to book an assessment or you want to answer questions. And then if after answering the question, if they still want to book, then book the assessment. If they're done, then wrap up. If it's a reminder, then you need to confirm the reminder. And if they need to transfer to the person, then transfer. Right. This is perfect. This is actually perfect. So now I'll go ahead. You can either download this as a markdown file, or you can go ahead and build this, right? So I'm going to head and build it. Now, as you can see, it has successfully built out the entire agent. And now I just need to review the changes. So the agent name, that's fine. Back channel, do changes, that's fine. We can see the functions. There's the check availability and so unfortunately, the conductor decided to use a custom function, but we actually just want to use the built-in function, right? But let me just click that start for now. End call, written round, book assessment. Yep, that's fine. Let me just click all of that for now, except remaining, and then click submit. And now we can see the whole thing. I think this is actually easier to see the whole thing. So we have, again, the global prompt, which is the hit for your Maya, right? For the business name, I'm just going to say Apex. So I'm moving, right? You have the entire prompt here. We also can choose, again, just going to do the boring work, right? Just trying to change the model and turn on some of the agent handbooks and click save. And then we can also set the time zone, London, and the voice. Let's change it. And this is pretty much it. And I'm just going to close the conductor. And now let's actually look at how good the build actually is. So we have to begin with the start branch, which is going to be a logic split node. So it would say, is the call purposes a reminder? Else, right? To be honest, I wouldn't use call purpose. So is the call purposes a reminder? So the reason why we have a variable called call purposes, right, equals to reminder is because we want the agent to be able, if it's indeed a reminder, so we will have an API to trigger this workflow called call purpose. If call purpose, the variable is the reminder, then we trigger the reminding call. Because remember, there's multiple parts of this, two parts of this voice agent. The first part is the inbound voice agent that actually booked the appointments. The second part is that closer to the date, aka the day before the actual appointment, we want the voice agent to also call the person to confirm that they're actually attending tomorrow, right? To avoid no shows. And we want to do it in the same build. So the way that we do that is that we have a router, and when we do an API to reference to call this voice agent, we will start off by if the call purpose is actually a reminder, right? If it's not, which is the inbound case, we will go to the greet and route, right? We'll just say greet warmly and on behalf of, let's say, just copy and paste, Apex, Solar and Roofing, introduces this with Maya, and you say listen for the caller's intent and route accordingly if they want a new assessment or quote, or has general questions about services, roofing, solar financing, etc., or want to reschedule or cancel the existing appointment, ask to speak with a person describing emergency. So there's 3 possible cases here. If they want to book an appointment, then we go to the book assessment sub-agent. So sub-agent is just a node here. So the difference between a conversation node and a sub-agent is a conversation node is just an LLM, right? It can't do any actions. It just speaks. Whereas here, inside this sub-agent, it actually has tools that it can call. So it can actually do things like checking the availability and booking appointments. So that's why when the user said they want to book an on-site assessment, you go to the book assessment sub-agent, right? So we say, help the caller book an on-site assessment, ask what dates they prefer. After the check availability, then it will offer to you for a free slot. And if it's just basically the same appointment book workflow that we've been using already, that we've been building in the previous builds. And once it is actually available, then it confirms of the user and the job type. Afterward, it actually go ahead and book the appointment. So we have the check availability and the book appointment functions like before. And if the appointment has been booked and confirmed, then we go to the wrap up node to wrap up the call. If not, and there's a problem, then we go to the transfer to talk to a human to actually book it, right? And if they have general question, then we have an answer question node, so which is answer the questions briefly. And all it does is basically we have the knowledge base that we can configure, right, using the Apex knowledge base. And the callers, if they want to schedule a free assessment, then again, after answering questions, then they would go to book assessment sub-agent. If the caller has nothing further and doesn't want to book right now, then we go to the wrap up. So I should probably also include the knowledge base here in the global settings as well. So the wrap up node is just saying goodbye, basically. You're basically asking the user if there's any questions, right? If no, then just wrap up the call, which is using the end call functionality. Now, if there is a problem with the appointment, or if the person wants to cancel an appointment, then we will transfer to a real human using the conversation node, and then we have a transfer node right here called call transfer, and we actually transfer to an actual human. So that's the entire conversational flow. This is the inbound voice agent part. So this is an outbound call to confirm an upcoming appointment. Say exactly, hi, is this first name? This is Maya from Apex. Just to confirm your free assessment appointment time. Does it still work? And then wait for their response. If they confirm it still works, acknowledge briefly and move on. If they say they can't make it or want to change the time, then we go back to the team. So then we go to the wrap up node. So if the user confirms the time and still works for them, then we wrap up. If the caller said they can't make it or want to cancel or reschedule, so basically they can't make it tomorrow, then we go to the transfer call to transfer to human, right? This is the high level workflow. So now we publish it. So now let's actually build out the reminder workflow, right? So how is it actually doing the reminder, right? So if I just go to the NAN, again, this is how we can do the rescheduling flow. So actually, let's simulate a CRM called Apex appointment, if you would, called create. And then I'm going to add some column, right? So I'll just say name, and then we have the appointment time, and then maybe I'll also have a confirm. So let's say I have a customer called Tom, and then I have an appointment. Let's say it's in 10th of July 2026 at, let's say, so how about we have the date time, which is 2026 July, let's say 10th of July at 2 p.m. So from here we can also have the confirmed status. We can just say, let's say not yet. So now if we go back to the here from the NAN, from the data table, we have a condition where if the confirmed string contains not yet, then we want to return it. So basically, these are the leads that have not confirmed with the appointment yet, right? So this is one such lead. So we get those row. And then if there are multiple of them, so then we need to loop them, right? So we will need to use a loop. So basically, for each of these leads, we're going to send them a text, or in this case, we're going to just send them a call, right? So we're going to be using the Retell create call API, which you have used before, which is very similar to this, right? Which is the create phone call API endpoint. So what I'm going to do actually is just going to duplicate this and I'm going to put this here. I'm going to be using the same API key, but the JSON will be different. So it will be I missed a field, which is going to be the phone number of of course, we need the phone number, right? Otherwise, how are you going to contact them? So we'll just add a phone number, and I'm just going to call this whatever you want. So plus, right? Doesn't matter what it is. So we're scheduling every hour. We're gonna look at this appointment booking CRM and list out all the leads that hasn't been confirmed with the appointment yet. And there might be 5 of them. So for each of them, we're gonna give them a call. We'll be using the Retell Create Phone API, and we just need to configure this. So to which number? Well, obviously in this case, it's gonna be this number, right? So to this phone number right here. And then the first name, which is the name of the person, right? Obviously would be Tom. And then we have the variable, in this case, will be the appointment time, if I'm not mistaken. So if we go back to the reminder workflow, appointment time, APPT, right? So APPT time, and the appointment time will be this one. And we will just say one of these variables because we also need the call purposes, right? So in this case, I'm just going to have another variable right here, call purpose. And obviously for here, I need to put in the fixed variables. The fixed variables in this case will be reminder, right? So this will be the reminder. So in this case, it will always route to the reminding agent. So there you go. This is the from whichever number you attach the agent to. We've already talked about this. You go back. Right now it's attached to this build 2, but we're going to be attaching to this build 4 agent, right? So just go to phone number. We are doing the outbound call agent, so we're going to be attaching to this number instead. And now we can just remove, to be honest, we can just remove this. We don't need it anymore anyway. So if you go to agents, now the number is attached to this build 4. So I'll just call it build 4 reminder, right? So now if you call this API, it should be successful, right? But obviously I don't have it's not valid, expected after property name in 15596. Must be some silly mistake I'm making. Let's see, the number, I forgot a, here. Now that should work. Yep, there we go. So the call successfully activated, but of course, like it didn't work because I'm in the UK and it's a US number and it got blocked. As you probably know from previous build, go to the call history, telephony provided permission denied, right? So if you're in the US, you can test it yourself. Great. Now we have the call, right? So perfect. Now I'm just going to loop back. So it finishes the call and then it loops back, right? Now this is a very basic reminder build, right? But obviously you can improve upon that. This is the most basic build that you can basically do, right? Again, the more sophisticated build would be to, obviously, you want to actually check the time. Actually, one thing, you list out all the leads that are not confirmed yet. But then you also need to check if it's actually the day before, actually if it's 24 hours before. So you can check if the time, right here, the appointment time. So rather than writing the code from scratch, you can actually use the NAN AI, which is very helpful assistant to help you write out the script essentially. So now it successfully created this workflow. So now we basically have a JavaScript that check if the appointment time is within 24 hours, right? So this script basically creates the check if the current time is within 24 hours, and we're only keeping those within 24 hours. So with this code script, basically checks the appointment time, right? The appointment time, and now, which is the current time. If the time gap is indeed within 24 hours, it will return true. If it's not, it will return false. This is basically what this script actually does, right? So now if it's within 24 hours, it is true, then we keep it. Otherwise, we just discard it and just ignore it. So it's because it's not within 24 hours, right? Then we call this Retell API to actually create this specific phone call right here to actually call about the reminder. Now, the funny thing is even though we call the Retell kind of API, so we publish this first API, this is the reminder workflow. But we also should be able to update the CRM inside the data table, aka here in the Apex appointment workflow, that now is changed to a confirmed status, right? So again, it's very easy to do that. I will leave that as an exercise to you. But essentially what you want to do is once the user confirms the appointment still works for them, aka it's actually confirmed, what you would want to do is actually within here, you want to add a function step. So within here, it is a function step. You want to add the step, which is actually called a custom function, right? So you can just call this save to CRM, right? And you'll just say to change the confirmed status in the appointment booking CRM, right? And then you would just, again, you just need to create a separate webhook to this. So if you go back to NAN, it's exactly like this. Basically, you insert a row and then you go back, right? So again, I'm not going to repeat this, but basically you create a webhook. We've done this like multiple times already. Copy this, paste this into here, right? And then you just have the parameter, which in this case will be confirmed. It will be confirmed whether the appointment has been successfully confirmed, right? That's required. And then you just send this over to here. And then you just have the, again, just another table, insert row, the data table, so we'll update to confirm, right? I'll leave that as an exercise to you. But this is just building a custom function and then have that function to write here before going to wrap up step, right? This is how you can update the appointment booking CRM. Right, so it doesn't call them again. So yeah, this is kind of the cancellation. This is kind of like the reminder workflow that you could be building for a restaurant, for example, right? You can configure to any time zone you want, essentially. So hopefully this has helped you out for building a reminder workflow for an appointment booking software. And just a little bonus chapter just before we talk about monetization is that everything we talked about today has been built using Retell, which is really great. As you saw, it's a very great low-code platform to getting started of building AI voice agents. Unfortunately, when you try to build voice agent at scale for businesses that has huge volume, that might not be the most optimal way of doing it, at least from a unit economics perspective. Retell, at the end of the day, is a platform that basically hosts these voice agents, right? So essentially, they will have quite an expensive, I would say, not expensive, but like they will have some sort of a charge per minute, let's say 0.5 or $0.6, sometimes $1 per minute, depending on your build, on your voice agents. So if you want to have full control over the voice agent of your stack and also have the per minute usage be cheaper in the long term because you have such a high volume, then it might make sense to build something on some called Livekit. So Livekit is an open source framework for building these AI voice agents. And actually OpenAI Voice Real-Time also built on that on top of other companies. And it's really fast, to be honest. Like some of our client builds were done using Retell as well. The latency is really great. You have full control over the stack because, you know, in Retell, you only have a selection of the speech to text or voices or LM, which are all great, by the way. But if you want the more precise control over your entire voice agent system, you might want to consider using Livekit. Or if cost is a problem for you, then Livekit is also another option, viable option. The only downside is that it does require some technical knowledge, as you do need to know how to code in Python or TypeScript, I believe, in order to use this framework. So it does take some technical skills to actually master it. But at the end, it gives you full control, and I would highly recommend it for any businesses that have a high volume, of course. So how does the Livekit actually works is that you have the caller, right? You have we will create the Livekit room, which is their self-hosted engine, essentially. So you can host it yourself. It goes through the speech to text, LM, and text to speech or avatar. These are brought in by you. So you have to have the API keys for each of these for each of these pipeline, right, in order to build the voice agent. All Livekit provides is the communication protocol and the hosting for your voice agent, right? So it's basically a Python library. And then it does offer some custom orchestration. So basically you would need to code up the entire conversational flow, how you try to orchestrate from a infrastructure perspective of setting up these voice agents, etc. And you need to set up your own tools, obviously, your own calendar, CRM, etc. You need to write and read access to these tools, right? You need to write those yourself using Livekit. So yeah, so as you can see, there are advantages and disadvantages, but at volume, self-hosting can sometimes cut the per minute cost by 60 to 80%, right? Once the volume justifies the engineering. And also another thing is that for Livekit, if you're working with a business like maybe a legal industry where the data they're not comfortable with the data reaching, let's say the retail server or other managed platform server, and they only want the data to be used kind of locally by, when I say locally, I mean like by your team only and not by any third-party provided platforms, then Livekit can also be a very good choice where the data can just stay inside the client's walls or like the client systems without going to any third-party platforms like Retell, Vapi, or these kind of platforms, right? That's one way of seeing it as well. And managed-only builders, I also might want to make this point, is that managed-only builders, so kind of like Retell AI, Vapi, Voiceflow, all these tools, there's some features they can't do. So for example, Avatar is one of them, custom orchestration, etc. And from cost perspective, as I already mentioned previously. So yeah, this is kind of why you would kind of want to, decide between using Retell and Livekit. This is how you would choose. And now let's go to the next chapter, which is how you can monetize these skills. Okay, you just watched me build 4 builds for the same company. But what about the investment side of things, right? Like how much do these things actually cost, and why should company actually pay money for these builds? So in order to answer this question, I actually want you to picture the city or the town that you're living in. Every roofing company, every solar company, every dentist, every clinics, every salon, restaurants, every one of them has the exact same problem as the fictional company that we've been doing the builds for in this video. The phone rings and nobody picks up, and it goes straight to voicemail. A lead comes in and nobody calls them back fast enough. The old CRM list just sitting here in the database dying. People book and don't show up. And now you know how to fix all 4 of these problems. And that's not a small thing. That's a skill that's actually printing money. That's a skill that you could actually monetize. That's a very valuable skill that is really high in demand in the world right now. The average small businesses lose around $126,000 a year just from calls it never answers, aka missed calls, per year per business. And there are dozens of those businesses within 10 minutes of where you're sitting. So when I say the opportunity is real, I mean it literally. You're not competing with some agency in San Francisco, right? You're solving a money bleeding problem for the plumber 3 streets over from where you are. And he can feel that pain in his bank account every month. For myself, 2 years ago, I started Legacy AI with 0 clients. And today we've built voice agents, automation workflows, custom AI solutions for over 50 businesses around the world. And I didn't start the business around the world. I started with the one that I could reach out to. And that's available to you right now. Now, the market being huge in this space is great, but a big market doesn't really pay you. How you position yourself inside it actually does. Because there's 3 completely different ways to monetize with this skill. And most beginners usually pick the wrong one. So let me show you the 3 ways to actually work. There are 3 ways to learn what you just learned into income. Build for clients, get hired by a company, or become irreplaceable inside one. So let me talk you all 3, because the right one depends on where you're right now, not some online guru tells you to quit your job just because for the sake of it. The first way is the agency route, and this is the one that I did. You find a business, you build them a voice agent, and then they pay you. That's it. And here's what you actually charge, because I know that's the real questions. Look at these numbers on the screen right now. The receptionist you built in build 1, the simplest one, the hello world, if you're a developer, that's around $500 to $5,000 plus a monthly retainer. The booking no-show agent from build 4, that's anywhere from $3,000 to potentially even $10,000 upfront. It's because the legacy calendar or POS integration is genuinely difficult and it requires some engineering skills. And also the no-show recovery is measurable money. The retainer is the part that beginners actually skip because it's also the most important part. A retainer means recurring monthly income to kind of maintain and also improve upon the existing builds. You could take on existing client calls, for example, based on past transcripts or past conversational history, and actually analyze what's working well for this agent and what could be improved with the agent, and you can continuously improve and add on features that make sense for the business owners. And business owners are more than happy to pay you a monthly bill to do that. And the retainer is actually what you goes from I did a project to actually I have a business. And the second way is to get hired to become an in-house AI specialist. You don't have to sign an agency at all. Companies are waking up to this and they want someone in-house who can build it. If you can demonstrate that you can build working production-ready AI agents or AI voice agents, and you have a portfolio that working on real projects that 99% of job applicants don't have on voice AI in your resume in 2026, this would definitely take you into a very high, well-done position within a company, especially within the conversational design / conversational AI wing, right? And companies are actually in demand for this skill. So the skill you learn is the same whether you freelancing or you get a salary for it. And the third way is to become irreplaceable in what you're already doing. Maybe you already run a business, or maybe you already have a job. You don't need new clients. You become the person who can automate the phones, kill the no-shows, and reactivate the dead leads that brought back 40 grand. Stay with me here because this one is actually the most powerful. When you're the one who saved your company real money with a system only you understand and you come up with, you don't get laid off. We're all very concerned about we're going to get replaced by AI. AI is going to fire everyone. But on the other hand, if you can lead with, if you can be the in-house AI specialist, and you being motivated to explain to your managers or higher up management how you can solve exactly the problems and the approach that you would do it and actually build it for them, they're going to put their eyes on you, right? You're like kind of, wow, everyone in the company doesn't have the skills that you have, and you get promoted or you get equity for the bit or for your company, or you just get to keep the business that you already have and upsell your current clients. The multiple marketing agency clients that we work with, that we partner with, want to exactly want to upsell AI services and voice AI services to their existing clients because they're so high in demand. So that is another way that you can monetize these skills. Now, most of you watching are probably wanting solution number 1, right? Which is the agency route. You want to build for clients and get paid. So that's where I'm going to spend the rest of our time. But before I give you the playbook for landing your first client, I have to deal with one objection that kind of scares every beginner away from the game. And honestly, trying to beat it is kind of the most valuable lesson in this entire video. So let me show you what it is. So here's the objection. You went on discovery call with a client. It's great. They love what you're doing. They love you. But when you tell them the price in your proposal, they're going to be like, why would I pay you 5 grand when there's a SaaS or a software I saw that does the same thing for $49 or $99 a month? And that's a fair question. And if you don't have an answer for it, it will kill your confidence and it will kill your deals, no matter how strong technically you are. So let me give you the answer because I come across this all the time. Because once you understand it stops being a threat and becomes the thing that actually protects your business, and actually puts you in a position that beyond everyone else. Right. So let me first define the terms so we're on the same page. SaaS just means software as a service. It's a tool that you rent monthly off the shelf and it's the same for everybody. Think of it like a cheap microwave dinner. It's cheap and fast if all you need is kind of fine. But what you build, you want to think about yourself as a private chef. It's made for one specific business. It plugs into their specific systems and it's engineered in a way that it does this specific thing that they're asking for. Now here's the key. A private chef is not better for everyone. If someone just wants a frozen dinner, sell them the frozen dinner and walk away. The skill is knowing which customer is which. So here's the rule. And really write this one down because this is actually the important part. Cheap software wins on simple jobs. A one-person business that just needs someone to take a message and text it to them, that's a frozen dinner customer. Let them go. Do not chase them. I'll come back to that in a second because it's a real rule that I follow. You win the moment the job gets complicated. And there are 3 flavors of complication, right? So let me give you each one and with an Apex example so it's concrete. The first complication is integration heavy. Remember Buildful, the agent had to read and write to Apex calendar, checking availability, scheduling, and then it has to set up those reminder workflow 24 hours before the booking date from the CRM. In reality, I know we've been using the NAN data tables for simplicity, but in reality, you have to integrate into so many of their calendars, POS, into their booking systems, and to their SMS systems. No $49 a month plugs into their specific calendars and their specific CRM and their specific testing services and their specific booking system, and does that rely, right? That's custom, and that's on you. The second one is high stakes. When a missed call is worth $5,000 roof job with $15,000 solar install, the business cannot afford to just plug in a generic chatbot that just fumbles, right? The stakes justifying someone paying someone with a high skill to get it right for their specific business is too important because a missed law firm call might well be worth $5,000 and up in lifetime value. If let's say you're a high value customer and you call up the service provider and what you hear is a generic robotic sounding AI agent that can only answer questions, how would you feel about that service provider? Do I really want to do business with him, right? Well, on the other hand, if you have the skills to build a custom, low latency, realistic sounding voice agent that can actually do things integrated too deeply into their legacy systems and actually being productive, that's a completely different story. And the third one is qualification complex. Remember, Apex doesn't want every color. They want homeowners and they want with the right roof, with the right area, ready in the right time frame. So that whole qualification logic, the stuff is scripted into the agent, is custom thing, right? Off the shelf, it's very hard to do it. I've seen software where they even limit yourself to how much you can put inside the prompt and on the knowledge base. So there's no way if your qualification is complicated or complex, it's not so simple, it'll be extremely difficult to fit that into this $49 subscription a month. And this is what you should do when you're on a call with a client, when you go on discovery call, you should listen for procedures that are complex, integration heavy, high stakes, and qualification complex. Those are your people. They're not price shopping because nobody else can do exactly what they need. And quick honest note, because I don't want you to be wasting months here, so just stick with me. Some niches are just for frozen dinner buys. In my experience, auto dealers and dentals and healthcare are brutal for this. Tons of cheap apps already chasing them, owners who window shop on price and then so I avoid them. I lean toward more on the roofing, solar company, and home services, and then HVAC and plumbing, exactly like Apex, because those jobs are integration heavy, high stakes, and ticket sizes are big enough to getting it right matters. And I'm going to be honest with you in a way that most people selling a dream won't be. There's no single magic button. Clients come from a stack of channels, and they work in a specific order from easy to hard. So I'm going to rank them in the way that they actually pay off, not in the way that sounds sexy, if you would. Let's go. So the first channel is referrals. The fastest clients to ever close is a happy client sends you. This is the single highest yield channel that I have. Some of my existing clients, we work with them, they like the work that we do, and they refer us to more clients. The referral was really warm and the lead was really warm, so because they already trust in your ability to deliver. So your job after your first build is simple. One, make sure you do an excellent job. Go above and beyond to actually make sure that the build does exactly what you promised them to do, and ideally do it in a short enough time frame and high enough quality. And then ask them, hey, do you know any other business owners who has the exact same problem as yours? So every client is a door to the next 2 or 3, and most beginners never really ask, so ask. The second channel is outbound. Now, outbound just means you reach out to them. So instead of waiting for them to come to you. So you can target the niches that we already said, right? The dental services, the lawyer services, HVAC, plumbing services. And the whole point of doing outbound messages is that you don't just message a roofing company and say, hey, I can do AI, let's hop on the call. Because you just sound like everyone else. You message them saying, hey, I've built a voice agent that catches after hours storm calls for a roofing company. Here's a 30-second clip of it working. Do you mind if I send it to you? Right? You're not pitching a concept. You're showing a finished, proven thing. And you're not asking for them to hop on the call with you. You're just asking for their permission to send them a demo video. Right? So that's the difference between getting ignored and getting a reply. The third channel is email list. If you have any kind of email list, even a small one, that's kind of the warm traffic you already own. I've got a list of around like 1,000 something people. And the day I put in content, I email it to the list first. So it costs nothing. And those people already kind of know you because they saw your content. If you don't have a list yet now, start collecting emails now. Even 10 a week compounds eventually. And the fourth channel that I really like is content. Content like this video. Stick with me because I want to be honest with you so you have realistic expectations. Content channels like LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, it's a slow compounding channel. This is not where your first clients will come from. It brings in very thin and sometimes even unsteady takeover buyers over months and years. The one who searches for exactly this and this video and finds you. So it's a bonus on top of everything else, not your foundation. So if you start a channel or start a social media account, treat it like a long game and get your first clients from outbound and referrals while it warms up eventually. So here's your pipeline in order. So referrals are your highest yield. Outbound land your first few clients. Your email list is a free warm traffic. And then you have content in your social media accounts that tickles in over time. Stack them and don't just bet on one, have all of them. And that's everything. Now you know who you want to sell to, you know how to find them. And that's everything you need to know to really start monetizing this amazing skill in voice AI. And to be honest, it's been a journey showing you these few hours of how to build AI voice agents and monetize them. I hope you get a bunch of value from them. If you're a business owner and you would like to work with me and my team to build any sort of voice agents or automation workflow, feel free to use the link in the description to book a free discovery call with us. If you enjoy this kind of content, remember to subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. Before you end the video, I feel like there's something that I should be doing because based on my background, and I feel like that's what I should be doing all along, but I feel like now is a good time to do it. Because of my background, I would really love to invite you guys to pray with me. And if you're comfortable with that, then please stay to the end of this video. If not, feel free to drop off. That's not a problem at all. Thank you for watching. For those who are willing to stay till the end of this video, let me pray together with you. Heavenly Father, thank you very much for giving me this platform, giving me this opportunity to be praying with my audience. Thank you very much for giving me everything that I ever need to succeed and also a chance to share with everyone your good news. And I hope that everyone who's watching this video, they're doing well in life, they're blessed them that they're healthy, they're safe, they might be working hard to achieve their goals and it might seem difficult at times, so bless them, comfort them and make sure that they're listened to and they don't feel as lonely while they're working on their own stuff. And bless everyone who's watching this video right now and be safe out there. I ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Thank you very much for praying with me and yeah, hope you have a blessed day. God bless.